The media and the government have promoted the pancake theory as the cause for the collapse of the Twin Towers. That is fire-weakened steel support beams, right? Causing the upper floors to collapse. Then the weight of the collapsing floors above caused the floors below to collapse. This theory is not consistent with scientific principles or the facts. Frank Legge, who was a doctorate in chemistry, and Tony Szamboti, a mechanical engineer, reported in December in the Journal of 9/11 Studies, and it appears, therefore, that the official concept of a free-fall collapse of the upper portion through the initiation story due to the heat effects from fire is a fantasy. If the temperature did become high enough for a collapse to occur, and everyone agrees that it did not, it could not have happened in the observed manner. In particular, it could not have been sudden and thus could not have been produced the velocity, and hence the momentum and kinetic energy upon which the official story depends for the second stage of the collapse. Now, let me say here that before we go on, that the 9/11 Commission did not investigate the collapse of the building. The 9/11 Commission report investigates the attack right up to the point of the buildings collapsing. Because after that point, I mean, the buildings collapsed. We saw planes hit the buildings collapsed. You know, well then what was the point? To find out who did it, right? And why? Well, now that's ignored now. Okay. The theory that the buildings collapsed due to the controlled demolition explosives, however, is consistent with scientific principles and facts. All you have to do is look at the footage. Yeah, you thought I was going to say a different F word, huh? The demolition theory, in fact, is the only one which scientists have been able to corroborate. They tend towards that, right? Because the other one has too many holes in it. No pun intended. That is, here back to the article, that is, all observations are in accord with the use of explosives in a time sequence. And Legge and Szamboti, December Journal of 9/11 Studies, peer-reviewed reports indicate that the masses of dust particles created by the disaster contained tiny pieces of metal that had been exposed to both extreme temperatures, higher than could have been produced by a burning office or burning airplane fuel, and extreme pressure, such as an explosion, that would fragment material into minute particles. And that would also kind of fit in with why there were explosions under, in the basement where those people were injured. Not to mention all the people that were killed in the demolition of those buildings, whose families still have questions they want answered. And the official reports ignore this. Now, if you're unfamiliar with physics, then you're probably an American, right? You're just a regular, everyday, average American. Physics. When am I going to need physics in my life? Well, I ain't going to try and explain it to you now, okay? But people can figure it out for themselves, and I encourage you to do so, which I did And what I found was that the velocity of mass falling from that height would take about a little over 9 seconds, between 9 and 10 seconds. And it's reported in the 9/11 Commission report, and it's filmed. You can, time it yourself, and get a varying, get different times. You time it several times, find out what's your best guess. It's about 10 seconds. Everyone agrees. Well, if free fall is between 9 and 10 seconds, and this building collapses at nearly free fall speed, what is to account for that time difference in between the what is to account for the time difference? It's just a fraction of a second, right? Air resistance? It's hard to calculate that, but it's probably easy to assume that air resistance was a part of it, and I can't imagine much else that was. So take that into consideration. How does a building collapse from the top with the force building to the point of terminal velocity, causing each consecutive level to collapse from the weight and force of the one above? How does it collapse as if there's no resistance? Well, maybe because there was no resistance. And that theory fits in with the fact that there was just dust left and beams cut by somehow these beams got cut in a perfect form to fit on barges to go to China and be melted down before anyone could do forensics on them. It does all fit, doesn't it? Wow. Shout out to a new waking member in our chat room tonight, Jade Lane. An original chatter. Well, let me get on with this article while I'm waiting for Matzilla to add me to his Skype list. Let me see here. So, in December, a physicist, Stephen Jones, announced the discovery of the thermite chips in the World Trade Center dust samples. The chemical composition of these chips are an exact match to known thermite samples used in controlled demolitions. And I say thermite because you have to differentiate between thermate. You'll hear people say thermate. There was no thermate. Well, there was thermite. Okay. Further corroboration that explosive devices were involved. Steel support beams recovered from the site of the World Trade Center exhibited cut edges that are characteristic of thermite used to slice steel. Like a dang ninja sword. Just cut right through it. That explains how it could fall at free fall speed. Sorry.